Hello and welcome to the UC Davis Extension Executive Leadership Program Information Seminar. We are so excited to have you all with us today. The purpose of this session is to help leaders understand whether or not our executive leadership program is the right program for you at the right time. And I'm pleased that we have so many great people who've been involved in this program with me today. I'm Sharon Huntsman. I'm the director of the program. I also teach and coach in the program. And we also have with us Dr. Paul Porter, who is also one of our instructors and coaches in the program. We have some of our alumni from the UC Davis Executive Program, the most recent session that you're going to get to hear from. And one of our coaches, Janet Marl, is going to be facilitating some discussion with them about what their experience was like in the program, what they got out of it. And then we have Bridget Zaragoza here from our team to help facilitate your questions. And because this webinar is really for you, we do want you to ask questions. We've got a Q&A window in Zoom for you to type in some questions, and Bridget will facilitate making sure that she poses those questions to the right person at the right time. And you don't have to wait. We will have time at the very end, but you don't have to wait. As soon as a question comes up, go ahead and pose it. We're happy to field those as we go. So to get us started, I want to just share with you some of the features of the executive program so that you all understand what the key benefits are of this program, how we really designed it to serve you. So we really work on leadership in three particular ways. We have very engaging, interactive, in-person sessions together with a cohort of other senior leaders who are engaged and willing to support each other in learning, facilitated by fantastic instructors we have. As part of this program, we also have a 360-degree feedback mechanism, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then you also work with a coach when you're in this program, and all three of those things together really support you in taking your leadership to the next level. So a little bit more about the sessions. In the fall version of the executive program, we have 4 different sessions. They're Thursday afternoon and Fridays. So the first session is called Leading Yourself. And there we really work on you as the instrument of leadership, how you communicate, how you work more effectively with the people who report to you. And this is really an opportunity for you to understand where are you at right now. We do 2 different assessments that we debrief as a part of this initial session. Then we go to session 2, which is about guiding the direction for your organization, which is a key expectation that we have of leaders, that they be guides to the future. And in this session, we really look at innovation. What's going to be challenging in your organization? How can you find new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking about problems that will help you take things to the next level? And then leading change, because every organization is facing change on a small scale or a large scale, and leaders play a critical role in organizational success when it comes to change management. Then in our third session, we really dive into engaging the people through emotional intelligence and coaching. And that's really about how you show up as a leader that others would really willingly follow and engage with full heart and mind to the direction that you're encouraging as a leader. And then finally, in our last session, this is really about commitment. So we look at where you want to take the organization and what commitments you need to ask of the people you're leading in order to get there. And then we wrap it up with a case study where you get to really reflect on all that you've learned and apply it to a case study. So that's an overview of our very interactive sessions. And then the second component of the program is a 360 feedback tool. And we work with you on this before the program even begins in September to help you understand how to get the most out of this process. So we'll guide you through, who should you ask for feedback? And then it's an online system that's really easy to use. And when we come back together in October, you'll get your results that will really help you focus on understanding how you're already behaving in a leader in a way that people find helpful and useful and supportive, and what opportunities you have to go to the next level and really be even more effective as a leader, and to really focus in on where you want to shift in order to do that. And the partner that you have through that process of deciding how you're going to take your leadership to the next level are your coaches. And we have a really fantastic team of coaches who help you interpret your 360 feedback, help you look at all of that and decide, okay, what are the one or two things that I'm really going to focus on and try to land as a part of this program, and encourage you and support you in taking action to make those shifts. So I hope that gives you a sense of what you would experience in the program, but nothing will give you a sense of that as much as hearing from Dr. Paul Porter. And I'm going to shift it to him, and he's going to share some of the key concepts that he covers in the class that he teaches.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, I teach the first class on leadership communication. We like to start there because it's all about communication and your individual and group conversations you have with people. So I thought, rather than me just describing my class and doing that kind of thing, I thought I'd propose a couple of situations for you to see how you would react to those kind of situations. So here's situation number one. So it's there on your screen. You have an experienced employee who's done quite well in the past couple of years, but recently you're noticing some big problems, or some problems, not big, but some problems. So, it starts with little things. They're late with their time recording. They're having some problems getting to work in a timely manner. And you haven't seen these problems before with this fairly experienced employee. So you decided that you would sit down. Noticing this, you sat down with them and went over the specific details of how to record their time. You also reviewed their daily work hours, lots of specifics. And guess what? This approach did not work. So my question is, why? So ponder that for a second. I wonder why. You tried all these, you're very specific, very detailed, didn't work. So in order to demonstrate a concept that we cover, let's look at the next slide. And it says, it could be that you have confused what I call ability and willingness. And it's very important for a leader to understand that anytime they ask someone to do something, there is a degree of ability they have to do that specific task and a degree of willingness that they have at the same time. So ability are the things you see in a resume, the specific skills, experience, training, background, etc. And willingness is more attitudinal or confidence, or what's your motivation level. So it's very possible, a typical mistake a lot of us have made with experienced employees is that when they start to slip a little bit, we go right in with very structured interventions, like in this last slide. We try to specifically tell them, we show them exactly what's expected, but that could very well be a misdiagnosis. That's a typical example that many leaders make. When they see some slippage, they assume it's lacking ability and go in with explanations. Well, as you could well imagine with an experienced employee, making a misassumption could cause kind of a demeaning or a paternal, maternal kind of response by you. So actually in this case, it's more than likely that they have a willingness problem. Something's going on with confidence or with their attitude, or maybe they have home problems or something. So being able to distinguish between ability and willingness greatly influences what kind of approach you need to take with an employee. So this is one of the things we explore in our workshop. How do you kind of diagnose? Could this be a willingness problem? Could this be an ability problem? And then what leadership styles are most, or what I call the highest probability of success kind of leadership styles? And it turns out that different styles work better with people in different places. And that's why we kind of explore willingness and ability and try to increase your actual day-to-day skills to recognize which is which. And a lot of times we'll confuse both of those. So that was kind of thought scenario number one. Let's look at number two. I've labeled this "What's up?" You have a staff member who's come to you with a problem that they're having with a coworker. They have complained that this other employee doesn't seem to like them, doesn't respond to the request. The other person doesn't want to seem to involve them in the team, often leaves them out of important discussions and project updates. In other words, they talk a lot about what this other person is not doing, and they're confiding in you as a manager. So being a good manager, you carefully listen to their concerns and you try to understand the issues that they're having with the employee. And after listening carefully, you made what you thought were some excellent suggestions of exactly what to do about this coworker. You come up with some real gems based on your own experience and your background. But again, they say, I tried your suggestions, but every couple of days they keep coming back to you and saying, this person isn't responding to me, still not working. In other words, very little progress. What might be going on despite your ability to apply the absolute best listening and suggestion kinds of interventions? Well, the reason I bring this one up is it demonstrates another concept that we cover, and that's the concept of owning. Owning is a complex issue or a complex skill, but owning is an important and often overlooked step in listening and problem solving that a manager may engage in. Owning is that moment when someone moves who's talking to you from external to internal. It's when they go from blaming other people, which is a necessary step. Sometimes we just need to vent. But you as a manager, we would love to see you more skilled at helping a person go from blaming other external events to more internal. Like, what is their part in the problem? What might they be doing? How could they own their part of this issue? Until people do that, and until you have more skills in helping people to own, they're going to kind of stay external, and you're going to be limited on how much you can help them, or you're going to kind of create, as a manager, dependent employees who keep coming back to you again and again and again with the same problem because you haven't helped to facilitate what we call the owning process. So owning is another concept that I just gave you a couple examples here of concepts that we might talk to you about that you probably have thought of already, but this might go a little bit deeper.
Thank you, Paul. I want to just check in and see if anybody had any questions as Paul was talking about, a fictitious situation, but an example of where someone might be misdiagnosing willingness and ability in someone that they're working with, or where someone isn't really encouraging ownership of issues. Were there any questions that have come up on that? All right. Okay. So we will, of course, Paul can also, as you percolate on those concepts, there's time later for questions. So if something comes up, we welcome it. But why don't we go ahead and turn it over to Janet and our amazing alumni.
The best part of today.
Hi there, everybody. I'm glad to be on the call with you and welcome. I'm glad that you've made time to explore what this program might be like for you. We have with us Michael Simmons, John Singh, and Tess Dunham. They all went through ELP this last spring. And each of them have given us a little bit of an idea of some of the takeaways and the benefits that they have, that they received from the program. So I'm going to start with Michael. So Michael, you mentioned in particular the LPI 360 was meaningful to you. Can you tell everybody what your role is and just give us a short description of the meaningfulness of the LPI 360 for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Janet. So my role, I'm a DC manager. I have 4 direct reports, and then underneath them, there's a total of 40 people in the building here that I'm ultimately responsible for. And I went from only managing about 4 people before I came to this. And management style is definitely quite a bit different when you're leading 4 people versus leading 40 people. And, I found with the LPI 360 that it really helped me get feedback in the areas that I was excelling at. which was nice to have a pat on the back. But the most important part, it was the areas that I was lacking in identifying those areas, and then taking each each segment of this course and finding ways to apply that to myself, in ways of growing those areas I needed to grow.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, John, you mentioned that your learning experience with the Executive Leadership Program was really different than other programs you've experienced and taken, as far as learning as a group and your relationships with other people in your cohort. Can you let everybody know who you are and what that difference meant to you?
I'm can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, someone just came on and said I was unmuted or muted or something like that. Anyway, so I'm a plant manager for Mariani Nut Company in Winters, and this leadership program was amazing to me. First of all, the involvement that was generated from the coaches for the students and us that participated was amazing. I've had a long career in management, and I've been to many, many seminars and managing for inspired performance classes. And a lot of times we have to sit there and we just listen to speakers, and it gets kind of boring, to tell you the truth. But this was the total opposite. The involvement and just the interaction was amazing. It was so awesome to talk to, people in management that were in different styles of work that I'm in, and just getting to know everybody. And the instructors did a great job of that, of keeping us involved. It was just, if I could use one word, I would say it was fun. It really was fun. Where, at first, I was kind of skeptical. I thought, let's just 8 hours. Wow, we're going to sit there and listen to someone talk for 8 hours. And then once we got rolling, it was just amazing. And then secondly, one thing I emailed about was, this program taught me it gave me a whole new perspective on people. And I don't mean just your employees that you work with. I'm talking about people you come in contact with on a daily basis, which is like your friends and your family members. It opened up my eyes to a whole new perspective on how to treat people and to listen to them, and and make them feel like that you care about them, not just as because they work for you, but as your friends and your family members. And it just taught me so much in that sense. So I was very grateful to learn that aspect of it.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Tess, you came to Executive Leadership Program with your organization facing succession and transition, and that kind of made a big pivot for you of what you were looking for with the program. Can you give us a little bit of a context of what was going on what is going on in your organization that will give our listeners some context for the rest of what you learned?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Janet. Yes, my name is Tess Denham, and I am an attorney, and I happen to manage a law firm of about 22 lawyers, specializing in the environmental law arena. And I'm the managing partner, and we have been facing the need to really talk about succession, in that our two named partners, they're great, they're still active, they're still practicing, still plan to continue to do so for a little while longer, but we also needed to prepare for the inevitable, the inevitable that at some point they will want to transition out. And we did not want to wait until the day or the year before they said that, yep, okay, we're done, we've done our duty, and we want to go have fun and enjoy our families. And we wanted to be prepared, and we wanted it to be thoughtful. And I went to the leadership program at UC Davis, really looking for to find some skill set to help me lead this organization and, not just the attorneys, but our staff and our employees, but to lead us through a time of transition, probably over the next 5 to 7 years. And I found the program just so exceedingly helpful in really helping me to try to create a vision, right? I think I was doing fine on the day-to-day, but didn't have a vision and didn't understand what I needed to do to develop a vision and communicate a vision to all in the firm. And the leadership program was just absolutely essential in helping me to understand the need and how to develop a vision for an organization such as ours.
Thank you. Michael, I'm going to come back to you. When we spent time talking about your experience with the Executive Leadership Program, I was your coach, and I was extremely entertained every time we got to talk because you were just rocking it with what you were doing, bringing back to your organization and your people what you were learning. Can you give us just a little sense of the practical application of what happened in your world and how you managed that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the benefit I had was that, I was in a relatively new position, and the 4 supervisors below me were brand new to supervising themselves. And I got to take this back to work every single day after class and start practicing the tools that we were taught. And, there was a lot of different things that we did we practiced and tried. One of them that stands out though was, getting buy-in, different ways to get buy-in from the employees, from the supervisors. And, we worked through a few things to where we just weren't getting everybody on board on the same page, where we were some areas that we were struggling. And, we were really able to take the leadership and get them to buy in. And then they were able to, take that buy-in. And then exactly what we went through in our conference room together, we had the whiteboard out. We had, the tear-off sheets on the easel out as we're, running through notes and doing stuff. And then they did the same thing with the people that worked in each of their department, with the employees, and work through, the things that we weren't getting buy-in from and what everybody else was seeing. And it really created some cohesiveness. People wanted to be more involved. People had the same goal, the same vision. And it was really powerful. I mean, each week I came back and if it was something I could apply, we got to it and we started practicing it and we started using it.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Michael. It was a lot of fun listening to you going, oh, guess what I did? I couldn't believe this. So it was extremely great. It was gratifying for me to just hear you talk about how every week you're able to take something back.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. Hey, John, I want to circle back to you. One of the things that you told me about was during the using coaching as a leadership skill, you got a lot more skill based in listening. Can you tell us just a little bit about the change of what happened to you and your benefit from that?
Yeah, because I've been in management for, over 27 years, sometimes you tend to think you know everything, and sometimes your listening skills get you don't use them as much because you've been used to managing for so long and what you've always done. And when we had that session, and I remember one of the instructors was saying, was that hard, you guys? And everybody started laughing because it was difficult to sit there and listen for a while. And when I came back to work, I really put that into use, and not only with the supervisors that report to me, but just with my employees. And I think it's really, really enhanced my career as a leader now, because I'm doing something different that I didn't do that much of, early in my career and throughout my management career. And it's just broadened my management skills, and it really taught me a great deal of just sit and listen to people, and you learn so much more from them by just letting them talk for a while and really get to know what makes them tick, why they want to come to work for you and why they enjoy it here and things like that.
Thanks. Tess, coming back to you, your need to create a vision, articulated vision, and execute a vision had to challenge your personal growth as a leader. What do you think has been the biggest change in you personally as a leader as a result of going through the executive leadership program?
For me personally, I think it is trying to look long range and not just day to day, and recognizing that your employees, whether they're attorneys or they're secretaries or paralegals or support staff, they all need to understand what the vision for the future is. Not to mean that it'll happen exactly as one hopes, but that they at least know that there is a vision and what is being done to work towards that vision moving forward, and not just to deal with the fire drill on a day-to-day basis, which is, I find myself constantly trying to avoid living in a constant fire drill and trying to take that step back and be a little bit more visionary, balancing time, setting aside time to take that vision and communicating it clearly. So my personal growth really, I think, went from being just a good day-to-day manager into being more long-range thinking as to what does our firm look like in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years, and what do we need to do to be successful in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years.
Thank you. Yeah, there can be a big gap between where you are now and where you want to be, and to be able to start formulating some specific actions to do in order to get you where you want to go. Just setting aside some time to do that by attending something like this is a great thing to do for your calendar. Hey, Michael, I want to come back to you for a second. You had a really big benefit coming out of the executive leadership program in that you have been noticed by your boss and by the other senior leaders in your business. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about the career benefit that has come to you?
Yes. I've been approached by a few different people within my organization about two different opportunities that should be coming up within our company for promotion, and asking if I was interested, and kind of starting that conversation with the future and where it's going to take me. And I can say that this leadership program has definitely elevated the way that I work with my supervisors and the way I work with the people here, and it has been noticed. And it's spoiler alert: the final class is about servant leadership, and it kind of wraps it all up. And when my boss sees that I've changed the tune of how we're running this DC, that I'm here to promote growth at an employee level, which ultimately promotes growth for the company. I'm looking at growing people. It shows really easily. It shows clearly. So there's two opportunities for me to move up into a bigger role, and I'm really thankful that when these come up, that I'm already getting talked to, and it should be a good opportunity for me to enter.
Well, we hope that one of those works out really well for you, Michael.
Thank you.
Hey, John, coming back to you. What's one last thing that you would love to tell everybody on this call about your experience with the Executive Leadership Program and what would make it something worth their while to consider?
I would tell everybody to take this awesome opportunity that their company has. Remember, their company has chosen for them to come to this leadership training, and that's for a reason. And they should just come there and just take this opportunity to grasp everything that you awesome coaches are doing. And it's just going to enhance their career. Just like Michael said earlier, we come back every week after we've learned something, and it's going to make their career so much better for them and their career and their themselves individually. And I just want to say to them, take this wonderful opportunity and just run with it, go with it. Your company obviously sees something in you, and that's why they've chosen to send you there. And take that as a compliment and just enjoy it, because it's wonderful.
Thanks, John. And Tess, to you, the same question. What's one last thing you would love to tell everybody on the call?
That we all are busy. We all often think we don't have time to do something like this because it is a significant time commitment away from work and away from family. But every now and then, if you don't take that time, you won't grow. And it was difficult at times because of the time commitment, but I do not regret a single minute of the time that I put into the program because of what I've gotten out of the program. And I absolutely would encourage everybody on this call who has any interest, that I know you're worried about how you balance your time. I will tell you that one of the biggest benefits of this program has actually been to help me better balance my time overall in my life. And therefore, the time spent here, I think will create better balance in your life overall, not just at work. The emotional intelligence session was absolutely eye-opening, and you cannot imagine the benefit that you would obtain from this program. So go for it, make the commitment, and you won't be sorry.
Thank you, Tess. You guys have been awesome, and stay on the line because there may be questions for you. So Sharon, I'm gonna shift it back to you to go on to the next thing. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Janet. And I can't move on to the next thing without thanking Michael and Tess and John. Thanks so much for being willing to share what your experience was with people who are in that place of wondering, I think there's something bigger out there for me on the horizon, and is this the right place for me to grow? I really appreciate it. And Tess, I think your advice, if you don't take the time, you will not grow, is so apropos for this next slide, because it is a significant commitment of time, but we do design it for busy leaders. So the sessions that I described early on, those 4 sessions, those take place over 8 weeks. So it begins in October and it ends in mid-November. And I think that one of the most important aspects of this program is that we have time built in for you to reflect and apply what you're learning in between each session. And that's really intentional, because if you are just going to class and acquiring new information, but you never get to apply it, that's actually really passive learning, and it often won't stick. It won't become a durable part of your leadership repertoire. What will become a part of how you lead is what you apply and what you learn from and what you use to make it a difference. And so this program is really designed to help you do that. And your coach will be alongside you on your journey as you apply what you're learning in the program. Some nuts and bolts about the program. Our tuition is $59.50, which is I'm going to tell you, a bargain, and this is the last time that it will be offered at this price. So take advantage of it. There is an early enrollment discount if you are enrolled and pay by August 30th. The absolute last day to enroll is September 17th. And the reason for that, even though the program doesn't start until October 4th, is because we need that time to work with you on doing your 360 to get you ready for the program. So September 17th is also something to keep in mind. We have sold out before we have reached our deadline in the past. So if you are thinking about this program as something that is the right thing at the right time for you, I'd encourage you to send in your application and reserve your spot because we do typically fill up. So with that, we have time for any questions that have come up. And I will tell you that often one of the questions that people will have about this program is, how much experience do I have to be in an executive leadership program? So I'll just address that one right away. We always have a range of experience in the program. We have people who are relatively new managers. Maybe they've been managing 3 or 5 years, but so they have some of the basics down, but they really want to take their leadership skill to the next level. And then we have people who've been, managing people for 20 years who want to come back and retool and refresh. And I think you heard John talk about that's kind of where he was at, and he really used it to his advantage. So I think the most important thing is that when you come into the program that you have, you see yourself as someone who aspires to the next level of impact. And what I think you see in John and Tess and Michael is that they all are thinking that way. And that makes it a great cohort of learners when you're surrounded by people who are all thinking about how can I make a bigger impact through myself, through the leadership that I bring to the workplace every day. So Bridget, with that, just sort of overview of questions I've always had in the past. Are there any other questions that have come up for people?
There's one question. How does the UC Davis program differ from the UC Berkeley program that offers a certification in leadership and management?
That is a great question. I can really only speak to what we do here. There is, as a part of this program, you do get a certificate from UC Davis Extension. If theirs is a full certificate, theirs might be longer in duration, but I can't really speak to it. This one is really designed as executive ed. So we have focused it on the learning that you can apply right away, which is what most executive ed is about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question, would it be redundant for a person with a MBA?
Great question. And I think oftentimes when people come out of an MBA program, they have incredible skills in finance or in market strategy. And oftentimes an MBA program may not spend as much time on people leadership. How do you win the hearts and minds of the people you are ultimately responsible for in the organization? And so I see what we do here is entirely complementary with the skills that you bring, whether they're MBA skills or their technology skills. We've had a lot of chief technology officers go through this program. It's that people leadership aspect of what it takes to be at a senior level in an organization that we really zero in on here. Any other questions?
Is course geared more towards managers, or is there also value for a small business owner?
Oh, yeah. We have had a couple of people who were small business owners come through the program. I think that one of the things that they have valued about it was being a small business owner can be lonely. When you are on your own and you have a very small team, you don't have a lot of peers that you can exchange ideas with. So I think there's some value in that sort of learning. And if the small business that you're engaged in relies on people skills, I think it's incredibly valuable. We've had people go through the program who ran small businesses in financial consulting or nonprofit consulting. The same kinds of skills that you use in leading people can be extremely helpful in building relationships with clients and with vendors. And so I think that's, I think some of what I have heard the small business owners who've gone through the program.
I might add, Laura, Sharon,
Yeah.
I might add, sometimes we get comments that one of the benefits of the program is the chance to interact with people from different sectors, small business, large business, and government agencies. So that kind of cross-fertilization seems to be a positive of the program.
Yeah. Terrific. Janet or any of the alumni, we can see if any of them have. What questions do you think that they should be asking that they haven't asked yet?
Another one came in.
If I'm more of an individual contributor in a leadership role, will this class still be impactful? I think there is a lot to learn, but will it be focused on managing people?
Well, I'm going to ask if any of our alumni want to tackle that one. Were you all able to hear that one? Bridget, do you want to repeat the question to see if our alumni want to weigh in on it?
If I'm more of an individual contributor in a leadership role, will this class still be impactful? I think there is a lot to learn, but will it be focused on managing people?
So this is Tess, and maybe I can help take a shot at that, Sharon. I think individual contributors absolutely could still gain tremendous skills within the leadership program. I don't think it is, while it is focused somewhat on management, we learned so much about just communication, that whether you're communicating to your boss or to people that you manage, this class addresses all of those types of issues, and an individual contributor would absolutely, I think, get a lot out of this class and maybe determine whether they want to pursue more leadership opportunities within their organization after gaining some additional skill set.
The other thing that I think about with that question is that we've had people who have come through the program who may not be formal managers, but they are project team leads. They are in a matrixed environment where they have responsibility for guiding work. And I think that that's often an interim step to taking on a formal people leadership role. And I feel like those people have gotten some really good value out of the same skills. And because they did have some kind of role where they were responsible for, in some ways, it's even harder, right? You have no formal authority to manage anyone, but you're still responsible for the work of a team and for getting that project done. They've gained skills to help them be more successful in those kinds of roles. So I think if you're an individual contributor, but you have that kind of responsibility, you're going to be able to apply what you're learning. And I think that is what makes this program valuable. As important as it is that we have great instructors and great coaches and a 360 and a great cohort, the learner's ability to go out and apply what they're learning and make it part of how they approach people and leadership issues is what really will make a difference in the workplace and ultimately lead to that return on investment. Oh, and Janet has something to add.
Hi. The thing that I think of as both for a small business owner and as an individual contributor are the skills of how to address innovation and how to address change and the speed of change. And those are two sessions that we have that really challenge everybody about the typical way they do work and how they need to do work in the future. And ultimately, no matter where you are in your organization and the degree of responsibility you have, whether as a member of a team or the leader of a large group of people, everybody has to show up in their leadership. And everybody has to show up in a way that can be effective up, across, and down. And the sessions, particularly on the innovation and the change and the commitments of what organizations stand for and the values and the ethics that need to be maintained in order to be a successful organization and to be a successful person within an organization, I think really challenges everybody who needs to kind of up their game to make sure that they stay relevant and they can stay a really valuable asset to their organization or to a future organization.
Yeah. Great questions. Do we have any more? I think we've got time for one more.
Yes, what time commitments will be required outside of the 8 on-site classes?
Yes, I will take this one. So we have made it so that we do a little bit of priming before each topic. So, people wonder, it's the university, how much homework is there going to be, and usually the priming material before a session is 1 or 2 articles, and maybe, a reflection, question that we discuss when we start the class. So we've really tried to focus it on just enough to get you going so that when you come into class, you're ready to engage on that topic. And then outside of the that priming material that we send you, there is the time that you take to apply it. And the truth is, a lot of the time you're applying it in activities that you would be doing anyway. After you spend time with Dr. Paul Porter, learning about the difference between ability and willingness, you might take that into your next one-on-one as you're listening to the person you're interacting with and go, the challenge that I'm seeing here, what is this and how should I respond? So I don't think it requires anything more of you necessarily. It's just being more intentional in using the opportunities that you have back at work to apply what you're learning. So we've really designed this program for busy leaders. I'm not joking. There was a time, I think, back in the 1990s when you had to read a whole book between each session. We don't do that. Let me say that one more time. We do not do that. You read maybe a short article, you might watch a TED Talk, but it's really in service of you learning in a way that will engage your brain and get you ready. Yeah. All right. So I think that's where we're at in terms of questions. I really want to thank all of the people who came together today. We got a great group. I want to thank Dr. Paul Porter, Janet Marl, Michael Simmons, Tess Dunham, and John Singh. Behind the scenes, Bridget Zaragoza and Dan Cummins have been helping us out here. So it takes a village to put on a webinar, and I appreciate our village here. Thanks so much to everyone. And if you've got any questions, this is the best way to get in touch with us. This is my email address, slhuntsman@ucdavis.edu, to apply for the executive program. And I encourage you to get your application in soon if you think this is the right time for you. Here's our URL, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall. Take care.
Thanks, gang. Bye.